This is our behavior makeover that we did inside the Avian Behavior Lab for one of our members. The subject was a 50-year-old female umbrella cockatoo with out-of-control screaming, and that is to say she screamed every time her people left the room. This is an extremely intrusive problem to have. An umbrella cockatoo really knows how to let it rip, right? Many of my screaming clients feel that they're being held hostage by their bird's behavior because these screams permeate every aspect of their home life. Many screaming cases have similarities, but the environmental conditions are different. How our homes are designed, the skills the bird already has, and the temperament of our household members dictates tolerance levels. These are really important components that we have to assess to offer our family a realistic program to help them. You'll also hear me reference a few courses we have inside the lab that will help our family out. You can also get some of these courses on demand, so check out the links in the caption. Stay tuned at the very end for some really important closing remarks from me about a few concepts that will really take our problem-solving skills to the next level. All right, so this is our second lab behavior makeover. We're going to make this straight to the point because this is half an hour. And we have Kendra is going to be our makeover E, and I have your I did have your there we go, your behavior worksheet in front of me. I'm just going to pull this up. So hello. Okay, wow, I didn't think I was old enough to have a problem with Word document, but here I am. Okay, so what we have is we have a umbrella cockatoo. I'm just going to introduce it. We have an umbrella cockatoo that is about 50 years old, and we know that she is a female and that we've had her for a little over a year, and this bird screams whenever she's left alone. And so we did choose these at random, but this one actually came up a couple of times in the people that submitted their behavior makeover applications. And if you did submit one, like I said, these were just chosen randomly, but we will put the other applicants in the next one as long as we decide that this is a good format. So that is going to be exciting for everyone, I think. So what we're going to do is we're going to meet our person, and we're going to talk about just a couple of the little things that that we, how I would work through a typical behavior consultation, and that way we can just kind of go through all of the environmental constraints and all of the different things that we would be working through. So go ahead and you can pop on your video or just unmute yourself, whatever you want to do. And there you are. Okay. Hey, Kendra, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Good, good. Okay. So thanks for submitting all of the stuff. So we have that this has been going on. So in the behavior worksheet, we have that describe the issue in observable terms. Your bird screams whenever she's left alone. And that's pretty observable, right?
Yeah.
And it's been going on since she was in her former foster home.
Yes, I know she lived in her former foster home for about 8 years.
Okay. All right. And it sounds like it's pretty predictable. You know, it will happen because she screams every time you leave her, and that it just happens every day, that it only happens a couple of times a day when it is only him home, but it's consistent when you're home. And I think we'll put a pin in that because we'll come back to that, because I think that is not uncommon. So we'll come back to that. And we talked about in the worksheet, it says, like, what are some things that she does that are mutually beneficial? What does she do that we do like? So she has her circus trick. Do you want to explain what that is?
So she stands on her rope perch and then she spins around it.
Okay, okay. We like that. We like it when they do that. She cuddles, and she has partial flight training, so she'll fly to places that you tell her to go. That's awesome. So she does do behaviors on cue, like her loops around the perch. And yeah, so okay, what other behaviors that she does that we don't like? She attacks her husband. She loves everyone but your husband. She will fly across the room if it means being able to attack him. Boy, howdy, this is a cockatoo for you. But she seems to enjoy his company when she's in her cage. And so what percent of the day do you estimate that she engages in the problem behaviors? About 50%. Okay, all helpful things. So first and foremost, I just want to ask, did you get a chance, have you had a chance to watch the Screaming Masterclass and or the Problem Solving Paradigm course?
No, not yet.
Okay, no problem. I just wanted to see if we were at all familiar with those. So, okay, so the first thing that we want to kind of put in our column is does she engage, like, does she play with any toys at all?
A little bit.
Okay, and what kind of toys does she like? Like what would she like?
I think she really likes rope toys. She likes tearing them and ripping the threads off.
Okay, okay. And what does her diet look like? Like, give me an idea, just kind of from sun up to sundown. What does she eat? How does she eat it? How is it served? And all of that good stuff.
So we make bulk chop filled with a bunch of organic vegetables and fruits, and then we freeze them, and then we cook them in our ceramic dishes in the morning for breakfast with a little bit of coconut oil.
Mhm.
Sometimes we'll add an egg, and sometimes we might garnish with either some cinnamon or turmeric or ginger. And that's what she eats for breakfast. She's not a big eater. She maybe only eats like a tablespoon a day.
Okay.
And then for dinner, she gets some not Harrison's. I can't even recall what it's called. It's let me look this up.
You'll hear me typing also. I'm a religious note taker.
Supreme.
Okay.
Yeah, so she gets Supreme, and then for treats, she gets walnuts and Nutriberries.
Okay. And what does the treat delivery system look like? What does that look like to you?
We give her a treat when she does something we like
Okay.
or is well behaved, and we always give her a treat before bedtime.
Okay. Okay. Does she get the Supreme? Oh gosh, it always changes it to Supreme. Does she get the Supreme natural or the colored ones?
Natural.
Okay. And does she have, so is she fed like in meals, or does she have the pellets? You might have said this and I was focusing. But does she get like the pellets all day, or does she get that in like later in the day?
It's later in the day.
Okay, I thought that's what you said. Okay. And you mentioned like the coconut oil and the egg. Does she have a hard time holding on to weight?
No, her weight's been pretty balanced,
Okay.
consistent.
Okay. All right. Okay. Does she know how to forage at all?
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. She doesn't like to work a lot to get treats.
Okay. Okay. And so give me an example, like just like one of like a typical day, like a typical Wednesday, let's say. What does that look like to you?
I'll my husband and I get up in the morning. He usually feeds them breakfast or makes breakfast, and I'll open their windows and their blinds, get their fresh water, empty out their dinner from the night before, clean out their dessert trays or dinner trays, empty the empty walnut shells, leftover pellets, and then we give them some time to eat for maybe an hour or so, and then we will let them both out my macaw, he just likes to play on the couch. And then Angel, I'll usually try to cuddle her, which is a little hard because we're always doing something. We're doing chores or we're cleaning. But I say I try to give her about at least an hour of cuddle time a day. Other than that, we have a tree perch in our living room that we put her on, and she seems pretty okay hanging on it throughout the day. She will start screaming if she feels like it's not enough attention.
Mm-hmm.
And then anytime we leave the room to go do something else, she'll just start screaming.
Okay. So y'all are both home much of the day?
Yeah, we're on opposite schedules, so somebody is always home.
Okay. Okay. And then she goes to bed about what time?
With the sunset, so when
Okay.
it's summer, 8, 9 o'clock, and then in the winter, it's closer to 6 or 7.
Okay. Got it. Okay. And then does she get covered to go to bed?
Yes.
Okay. And does she do pretty well with that?
Yeah, I think she almost expects it
Yeah.
every night. She likes the
Yeah.
dark.
My cockatoos, like they are like, please cover me. Okay. So there are kind of 3 sections that I put my work like a program like this into. So the first thing I do is kind of like, well, there's 2 sections mainly, but they're kind of divided into 3 parts. So the first main section is kind of like our how do I put it? It's like, first we need to like kind of go into repair mode, and that is like to kind of like break the cycle of what's happening. And I'll get into what that looks like. It's really prevention and building replacement skills. So those are the 2 things that we focus on, and I'm going to go into that. And then the second kind of cycle is training. So basically we've really put in, like, the first cycle is really like kind of effort intensive. We have to also kind of retrain the way that we think, because even if this behavior was perhaps started somewhere else, it's still being maintained. And with a bird like an umbrella cockatoo, it is so hard not to maintain the problem behaviors because it is such an intrusive behavior. The screams of an umbrella cockatoo are just very, very difficult not to reinforce inadvertently. So, and I could say that about many birds. I mean, and it really depends on who you are, right? When we're dealing with like a conure, some people are like, oh my gosh, this green cheek conure is driving me crazy, and I'm like, oh, come to my house. But it really depends on what sort of hits at our at the pitch that we don't really want it to. So so then we go into like the training cycle, which is, okay, I've put in all this effort, I can't live like this forever, so how do I kind of get back to normal? So so the first thing that I do is I identify all the scenarios in which this bird is is accessing the problem antecedent. And the antecedent is that she's screaming every time that you leave the room, is from what I understand. So you're welcome to stop me at any point in time that I get a detail or something wrong. So if she's screaming every time that we leave the room, then we need to figure out how we can prevent her from doing that. And there's a couple of things there. First of all, it sounds like she has very few skills at all, which is pretty normal for our screamers. If they don't have skills in which they can access the environment that give them like that are helping them find, I'll just say, like, satisfaction, then we need to help her build those skills. So so what we need to do is basically we need to teach her to I would say we need to teach her to forage. And I've got like a plan for that, because I've got a lot of people that I've worked with. They're like, there's no way that this bird is going to forage. We just talked about this.
oh gosh, I think it was just 2 days ago. And so that's like that's priority number one, is that she has to learn how to forage, and then we can actually stair step that into doing things a little bit harder and harder and harder, so that it takes her longer and longer to get some of those treats and things like that. So we've got to teach her how to turn her attention away from you. So part of that is just plain set skills. The other part of that, and that comes from both replacement and prevention, the other part of that is that some of the ways that we work with her are absolutely um, kind of creating the the bare baseline. They're raising that baseline where she's more likely to squawk. So we're sort of elevating the antecedents already to make it more likely that she will squawk. And one of those is creating that heavy duty pair bonding. So with Indonesian cockatoos especially, but many cockatoos, they are more likely to create that really strong pair bond with a few things. One is what I always call heavy petting, so like cuddling, and diet. So I would really look at the level of fat and animal proteins that are in her diet, and those things are telling her, hey, it's time to squawk. And the reason why it's time to squawk is because it's time to breed, and they automatically get more vocal when they are in breeding condition because they're more territorial. And so that's a big one. So with the level of fat and protein that are in her diet, I would look at seeing how you could replace those with other things. Number one, it's not like a magic bullet, but you will see some changes over time in her overall behavior. The second one is the amount of cuddling that she's getting is probably not also, like, we can use that time to build her skills, so that she's not looking to you to get like passive attention basically. And so we want to teach her, hey, I can actually like engage with my environment with, with Kendra here, but I don't have to just sort of sit here and as I'm envisioning what a female umbrella cockatoo does is just sort of melt and get this sort of like cuddle time. I can actually like teach her to do things. I can teach her, basic behaviors that are beneficial. And there's like a whole list of those that I can get into. I'm wanting to make sure that we're getting all the information that we can. So so those two things, I think, like right away will help you, especially also with the attacks towards your husband, because I've been there before with my Moluccan cockatoo, and I was actually just talking about that. I don't remember what the context was. I talk a lot, but just changing the baseline breeding condition that he was in really changed the attacks towards me, because he was like, my Brazilian boyfriend came in the picture, and oh my gosh, he was just like, swoon, I cannot be bothered. I have to, fall in love with this human being, and I don't blame him. So there's that. Now, I also, in that situation, I had these conditions where he would start vocalizing, and it wasn't until I realized that he was accessing other nesting materials. And once I got rid of those nesting materials, he would stop vocalizing as much. But we also had a relationship where when I was around, he was quiet as a mouse. But when my husband was in the picture, he would scream like all day long. And that's where the environmental setup was not, it wasn't advantageous to like his, like to being able to not accidentally reinforce him. And also like, because like sex was on the brain so much, he didn't really care about all of his toys, which he knew how to play with really well. So that's where I really kind of like, I would be remiss if I did not mention the part about trying to get her or trying to assess what level of breeding readiness she is in. So for me, with Sam, the Moluccan cockatoo, he had he was able to get under his newspapers, and then he would just sit there and like hover in his newspapers like a little, I called him his sex monster phase. And so as soon as I like took those away, I had this really nice bird back. Like he wasn't attacking me. So that's something, and also his noise went down 70%. So that's just something that that I really, really highly recommend, kind of looking at how she's interacting with that environment. So there's that. The next thing that we're going to talk about is getting this bird to start engaging with her environment, because this is what she needs to do. We do have a course teaching your bird how to play, and I highly, highly recommend it, because this is the way that I sort of stepwise teach our birds to engage with their environment when like they're just like, oh my gosh, don't let that thing touch me. So we were just talking about this with an African gray, but I've taught like literally like 40 year old something African grays. I probably taught 40 African grays this, but like really, you know, sensitive birds that are like, I don't want anything new in my environment. I can't be bothered to even let this thing touch my face. How to engage with their environment. So what we need to do is we need to get her looking for food around her environment first. And I always start with food because that's one of the easiest things, because like chewing up a block of wood or something like that can be a kind of a hard thing to shape. I've done it before. I have some videos on there under the Snowball Project that you might find interesting, but getting them to go after food is something that you can kind of step away and just watch them do. So what we do is we take here, I was just trying to find this. This is a bill. So what I'll take is like a piece of newspaper, probably about a quarter sheet, and I don't need this bill. So I'll crumple it. Sorry for the noise. I'll crumple it. And so a newspaper usually uncrumples pretty easily. And so it comes undone. And then I put whatever she really, really wants, really obvious, right in there. Okay. So she doesn't have to touch anything. The whole point is that she just is like, oh, crumpled newspaper is kind of getting in the way of something that I really want. And so we put it somewhere where it's easy for her to get to. And she just starts like picking out of this. And so she starts getting like, it could be pellets. I even give my macaws like cockatiel seed, so that they're just like, you know, eating like little bits of millet, canary seed, hemp, a little bit of safflower seed, so that they actually have to really concentrate. And umbrella cockatoos are good at doing this, of, you know, just like making their little beaks and their tongues work as hard as they possibly can to get just like a small amount of food from something like this. And so we're just going to teach her. Repetition is the best possible way. We're going to teach her that that she just has to dip in to this little crumple, and it's going to always have something that she wants. So every time she sees that crumple, it's really, really easy. She doesn't have to do anything to work too hard. And then once that is really, you know, she's got it down, we're going to make it a little bit harder and a little bit harder. And by that, I mean, like every time it's like, it's still visible, but maybe we crumple it a little bit more. And so, and by the end, and I can't honestly tell you how long this is going to take, but by the end, what we want is for her, sorry, I'm doing this like right in the microphone, but we've got a nice tight ball. And for some of my cockatoo clients, this thing is like zip tied shut, and they have to really dig in and tear it open, and they hold it in their little foot. And they get into the treats there. And that brings me to my next thing. There's my cockatiels. Is that the more birds hold, parrots especially, they did this study on parrots, the more parrots hold stuff in their feet, their food in their feet, they're going to work harder and spend more time on their food and less time on behaviors that we don't want them to do. So they call it pedo manipulation. There's a whole study on it. It's really fascinating. And so they found that because that's a natural behavior, they're more likely to start engaging in in like seeking and foraging behaviors when they are using their feet. So that's what we want them to do. The chop, like, I always say, like, if you're a chop person, fine, no biggie. But every once in a while, throwing in a bunch of like big chunks of food or these balls, I call them like seed balls or nut seed clusters, is really good. Hold on, I'm gonna keep talking. I'm just gonna give these guys some millet. You finished your dinner really fast. So there's a whole point to this. Hey, hi little man. There you go. There's a whole point to this is what I want to have happen is that we can actually like time the engagement of her, once she's good at doing this, we can time her engagement into these toys for when we actually want to like leave the room. And so we can actually train her to see like, hey, leaving the room isn't so bad, because we're going to give her this stuff. And we can like watch her, we can kind of schedule our days, and we can actually work through this kind of situation where it's like, okay, like I know that, like I'm going to leave for however long, and it's going to take, 5 seed balls, and she's going to be ready for that, if that makes sense. So that's how I like time that. There's a caveat, because I obviously like sometimes she just won't be, like she's a living being. She's not like an algorithm. She's not a calculator. She's not a computer. So I'm the other times that she's not into that, I am looking for more tools. I'm looking to build her behavior into other ways of keeping her busy. But let's put a pin in that and tell me what you think so far.
I think it sounds like a great idea. I look forward to trying it with her.
Okay, good. Yeah. The idea, so the big thing is that a lot of people will say like, ignore her, until she stops screaming, and like always ignore screaming. And maybe you've heard this, and that's one of my least favorite pieces of advice, because ignoring looks different to everyone. I had one behavior consultant tell me that ignoring simply meant you can stay in the room, you just can't make eye contact. And to me, that consequence doesn't really mean anything, because we're just saying that eye contact is the only thing that the bird values. For me, ignoring means that bird doesn't see or hear me. And that's really, really hard, especially the way most of our houses are set up. So I always say that I do everything I possibly can not to enter the room of a screaming parrot. However, if I know there's just no way that I'm like, I have to leave the house, or there's just no way that I can not leave the house or go into that room, I'm going to go into the room as soon as I possibly can, because I know that if I hold out for 30 minutes and then finally I'm like, oh, like I can't take this anymore, or even 10 minutes or 20 minutes, I just reinforced that long of screaming. And that's not like, now I've just trained my bird to scream for a really, really long time. And so instead, I have to be really realistic about it. And so I can either choose to offer a very low reinforcer, which would just be me entering that room and just being like, okay, I'm back. I'm not going to pay any attention to you, but at least you're not screaming anymore. And that's that. Like, that's just the way it is, versus just coming in and just saying like, screw it, like I'll take you out. I'll do whatever, I'll just stop screaming. Just stop screaming. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How does that fit into your world? What do you think?
I think that makes a lot of sense, and we're going to try that too.
Okay, great. Yeah. My favorite option is, and this is how one of my favorite examples of a cockatoo that sounds exactly like yours. And trust me, there's plenty out there.
That's actually the macaw that's screaming.
Okay. Well, I just meant a cockatoo story that sounds exactly like yours.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Is that it was a family that had a very like open plan house, and what we did was they had one like guest room, and I'm a big fan of like a secondary cage if I can, get away with it, if we have like the resources or whatever. And so in situations where like I just know that we have to be on the phone, maybe there's a Zoom meeting, maybe there's someone just wants to take a nap, or we have a dinner party or something like that, I'm going to put that bird in the secondary cage. It's not like a punishment. It's not designed to be, a punishing cage. It's a play cage. There's I want things for them to do there. Maybe, if she doesn't play yet, we'll get there. Like I said, there is a whole course, and we have like several more ideas for toys than just like the newspaper balls. So I highly recommend, checking that out. But it's designed to be a place where they can go. And if I just can't, I know that bird is going to scream, and there's just no way around it, but it's going to be super intrusive, and everyone's going to get stressed, and everyone's going to reinforce it. That's like a really, really, really good option, because that's life, and it's just really hard to kind of get around it. So there's always people, dumping old cages on Craigslist, or, maybe a bird club or something like that. But if you have that option, and you do have like a second room or an office that is sometimes used, but not all used, or like, maybe even a parrot tree or something like that, and you can put her safely in there where she doesn't have to be supervised, and you're not worried about her safety. And as she can squawk, but you don't have to, like, you can have a camera in there, so you don't have to rush in and check on her. I found that that's a lifesaver. It's a family saver. And like, it actually does help. Like I said, that's in preventative mode, where you can put them there when you just need, like, everyone needs like an hour of silence sometimes, I totally get it. So I think that's a really nice way. That's part of my problem solving paradigm in the preventative mode stage, where like that's the way life is. Does that sound like something that would be a possibility, or is that just, it's not the case for everyone? So
I think so. We do have a really big tree that she came with. It might be a little difficult to attach toys to it, but it's a start, and it is in a different room than where she sleeps.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can maybe get creative, or I have like very carefully drilled eye screws into different types of wood, trying not to crack it, but it's a possibility. So yeah. How about, since this is our first formal one, the other one that we did, the other behavior makeover that we did, that's Goblin, you're welcome, was for our member fest, and we did get to kind of do a follow-up. We can schedule like a quick follow-up for our next time, and it would be great to see how things are going.
Sure.
Awesome. Yeah, if you have any video or whatever, you can submit it on the community forum or the lab, or you can send it to me, and it'd be awesome to see how things are going. But those 3 courses that I mentioned are Teaching Your Parrot to Play, the Master Class in Screaming, and the Problem Solving Paradigm. The Problem Solving Paradigm just came out. So yeah, but probably in that order would be the best if anyone else is looking for those types of resources. So
Yeah, I'll definitely take those classes. Thank you.
cool, awesome, great. Well, good work. Yeah, I'm really glad to hear about all of these types of challenges. Like I said, this was one that certainly has come up before and also came up in this batch of applicants. So yeah, good luck, and let's hear more about it.
Thank you. I'll keep you updated.
Awesome, very cool. All right, thanks everyone, and we will sign off for now, but looking forward to our next one. And if y'all have any questions, I'll put this in the archives, and yeah, we can talk about it on the lab. Take care. Bye.
What a great start, and we're looking forward to hearing how the program develops. Now here is the little nugget from our masterclass in Screaming and the body of our work gets at. What often happens with our screaming clients is that the parrot doesn't have a lot of environmental reinforcers. The functional reinforcer to the problem behavior is the person's attention. So we can get to the point where we're using attention to reinforce the desirable behavior, such as quiet, calm behavior. But the problem is that we're often starting with a parrot that A, doesn't know too many other things in its world other than eating, sleeping, and screaming, and maybe cuddling, and B, it may be that we actually want to get away from offering too much attention. This is where we need to teach the bird replacement skills so that it learns how to interact with the environment to learn more reinforcers. But we got to get there, and we need to start with the basics, and we can't always be training every moment of every day. So our problem-solving paradigm course helps us develop a mindset so that we can do just that and build spaces of calm in our day so that we can actually think and not have to be pummeled with this problem behavior. There is a whole lot more where this comes from. Check out the Avian Behavior Lab and like and subscribe to this video.